Did you know that the iPhone wasn't Apple's first foray into cell phones? Let's talk about it. 2 years before the iPhone, in September 2005, Motorola and Apple entered a partnership to create what is now referred to as the iTunes phone. This device was called the Motorola Rokr. Basically what it was a hybrid between an iPod and a cell phone. What Apple did was lend the iTunes software out to Motorola, and they put that on their device and they called it the Motorola Rokr. What you were able to do was connect your Motorola Rokr to your computer and download songs via iTunes on the device, essentially turning it into an iPod phone, if that makes any sense. They basically marketed it as an iPod shuffle in the phone because basically it had the same specs as kind of an iPod shuffle in a way. This was supposed to be a big deal for Apple, but unfortunately no one really cared about it, and that's why no one talks about it to this day, because it's kind of a failure. The reason why the phone really didn't do too well is because there's a lot of issues with the device. You only were able to store 120 songs on the Motorola Rokr, which is a far cry from the 1,000 songs in your pocket that you can get on an iPod. Now, this phone did fail for many reasons, but I think the main reason why this phone failed a lot, you had to use this adapter in order to connect headphones to the phone, which is very, very reminiscent of the iPhone 7. So was basically Apple just preparing us for the iPhone 7 back in 2005. It also was basically just a mediocre Motorola phone. Wasn't that good, wasn't that interesting. It basically just had an iTunes app on the device, and that's what it was. So it really wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't the true iPhone that people were waiting for at the time. This was basically just a device that took an everyday phone and added iPod functionality, and that's all it really was. Overall, this was just a pretty interesting device, but unfortunately, again, it was just a basic Motorola phone. It wasn't supposed to be this big success, but I do think this was a pretty interesting part of history. Do you remember the Motorola Rokr or the iTunes phone? Let me know that down below.